Welcome to the Libertarian Party of Wake County, our meetup on Wednesdays. Sometimes we're over there, but we're here every Wednesday. And please join us anytime. All are welcome, always. So come hang out. We talk about everything. I just have a couple of announcements. We have a really nice lineup for you this evening. I'm very excited about it. But a few announcements. On September 22nd, we're going to have 7 candidates for Wake County Sheriff here from both sides of the aisle. We've invited all of them, but 7 of them have confirmed that they will be here. We're going to do it panel style, so please come out, ask whatever questions you want. It should be really interesting. Whether we like it or not, one of those people are going to be our sheriff. So it is a really good idea now to go ahead and find out where they stand on certain issues. And I know we all feel a certain way about certain issues, so that would be a really good time to come ask questions on the state of the sheriff's office in Wake County. So that is September 22nd, same place, same time. Please come out. It'd be a panel style and moderator style. So we haven't ever quite did anything like that before, so it should be interesting. And then on September 25th, we're going to join forces with Durham Libertarian Party for Pride. We're going to do the Durham Pride Walk and their parade, and we might even have a table. So Durham LP is actually heading it up, but Wake's going to get behind them and support what they're doing because we believe in equality, probably more so than any other party. So we're going to get behind that full force. And then the very following day, we're going to do the Association for Suicide Prevention Walk, and that's down in Fuquay. We're going to be kind of doing it digitally, filming ourselves, but also if you want to donate, please see Patrick. There's a link that we're gonna, you'll be able to donate money to help awareness for suicide, because right now with all the lockdowns and everything, the suicide rates have actually gone up a bit and depression rates are high. And so we want to create awareness as much as possible and be an ear for people to be able to talk to, someone to be able to come, you know, dump their problems on. We need to be that ear for people who are struggling, which there's many. So that's all the announcements I have for events. I am excited about our special guest this evening. She's become an actual friend, and it's really, really neat because I ran against her in 2018. I did not win. She won, rightfully so. But what was funny is that's back when we were doing panels. So we would show up to forums and panels pre-COVID, and people would be like, all 3 of us, the Republican, Democrat, and the Libertarian, we're all cutting up and laughing, and having a good time, and the other races, they were yelling at each other and cutting each other down. It was just, they were ugly. People were like, you know, that's really weird. Like, you know, that's the way it should be done. Like, you shouldn't start, you know, attacking people, you know, because of the letter beside their name or what party they belong to. And I just believe in building bridges and not walls, and not burning those bridges, and building relationships with people, because if we're going to get anything done, we need to do it together. And so I firmly believe that. And so Allison Dahle and I ran against each other in 2018 when I ran for House. And I had a really good time and just really got to know her and just love her spunk and her attitude. And we discovered that actually we agree more on things than we disagree on. And we've talked about that. We actually agree more than we disagree. And as libertarians, sometimes we get a little argumentative. And I've learned that it doesn't work. We have to stop just trying to win debates and just listen to people. And when we do that, we realize we actually have some commonalities. And those are the bridges that we can build together, and it'd be a much more peaceful place. And so tonight, we've invited our friend Allison to come talk on a bill that she has proposed for the regulation for cannabis in our state. And it's awesome because we need that. And it's a step in the right direction for our state. Of course, with any bill that's introduced, you're going to have issues with this part or maybe this part or this part, but it's baby steps in the right direction. You can't go from A to Z, but we can go from A to F and then work towards getting to the final destination of what we think is a good bill. So with that said, it's HB 617, and it's the legalization and regulation of cannabis. And what I like about it is it expunges people's criminal records where otherwise they'd be in jail. This bill would actually let them go free. And as libertarians, we are big on criminal justice reform. And I believe this is a step in the right direction. And I just want to thank Allison ahead of time for proposing this bill. And I support it. So with that said, please give Allison Dahle a warm libertarian welcome to the Libertarian Party of Wake County. Thank you so much for coming, Allison. Have fun with it. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh. Hey, everybody. So, HB, what is it, Travis? HB 617 is not going anywhere. Because it's too, it's recreational. I mean, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about recreational use of marijuana, and that's not going to get us anywhere. And one of the reasons we filed that bill was, number one, we cross our fingers every time and hope that we can legalize marijuana on the entirety of it. Number two, we don't want pharmaceutical companies coming in and taking that business away from the people who know how to grow it. And I got in trouble a couple of times in committee because I kept on saying, those guys in jail, they know what they're doing. Let's let them out and let them, you know. So one of the things in our bill I was really excited about was the licensure for growing marijuana was, you know, we kept it at like $2,500 because we felt like that was an easy in. The other thing we did was we put in there that NC State and A&T would both have, I'm going to go back here, I don't like having my back to anybody. A&T and NC State would both have a course to help people grow marijuana and follow the rules and regulations. And we felt like having both land-grant colleges was important to the state of North Carolina. So there were a lot of things that we put in there that we were really excited about, and it got its first reading, and then it went over into the world of nothing. So, and that's okay. I'm okay with that, because the more you introduce a bill and the more people get familiar with it, the better we are. Now, what I did want to talk to you about is something that is coming to the House, hopefully, I hope next week, but it's Senate Bill 711. And it is an act enacting the North Carolina Compassion Care Act. So it would legalize medical cannabis. So any of you who want to go talk to whomever you want to go talk to in the House or the legislature, R's, D's, I don't care who, go tell them about how wonderful medical marijuana would be. Because we're having a hard time on both sides. It's not like all the Democrats are going to vote for the medical marijuana and all the Republicans are going to say no. It's really interesting. I sat down with a table of Republicans, and they were very split on who was, half of them were for it and half of them were against it. So it's really important, any connections you have to help people understand. Because the big thing is that they want to have I highlighted it in here. They want to have a governor shall appoint advisories. So they have him appointing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have the governor appointing 9 folks, and then the 2 members will be appointed by the Speaker of the House and 2 members by the President Pro Tem. So that would give us a good balance, because the governor's not going to just, he's a little bit more conservative than maybe I am, so he's going to put some more conservative folks on that board. So one of the things about medical marijuana that I didn't know that is important to know is that pharmacies cannot dispense that, because pharmacies are under federal law. So we're going to have to set up dispensaries, which is something that everybody's a little confused about. But my other real concern is keeping the pharmacies out of it. Because one of the committees I was in 2018, it was a Democratic committee, but the pharmacy folks came to talk to us about it, and I was like, I don't want you here. I want people to be able to make money. And one of the bills that is out there is that the licensure to grow would be like $250,000. So I don't know about y'all, but I can't sell my house to get a medical. I mean, that's a price too far. So I do want and hope that you will help us advocate for. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the pharmacy companies, but I don't want it to be in that business. I mean, so many people deserve the right to do what they're good at. And I think that people deserve that right, and a lot of people have already been growing it. So let's use some of that expertise, and let's utilize the folks we have here. The other piece that Travis mentioned is really important, and that's the expungement piece. And I think we're going to have to look really hard. This medical marijuana bill, it's Senate Bill 711, it will not touch any of that. But if we don't get the nonviolent criminals out of the criminal justice center, I mean, we can't afford to house people and can't, it's just, I just don't, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I've tried to explain to people, I know that I'm preaching to the choir, but one of the things that really struck me was I went to Central Prison on a prison tour for where they paraded us around, and I went out, they said, oh, come and look at our facilities, which was a basketball court with 2 rims. I was like, wow, that's exciting. And there was a sea of African-American people, men, and 2 white men, and I went, I think there's something wrong with this picture. I can't believe that only 2 white men out of this whole sea of people were found guilty. And then I thought, well, yeah, I can. So we've got to get folks, and I would imagine that a good portion of those were nonviolent criminals who, you know, had a little bit of weed or had this or had something. So we've got to do something about that. And the start of that is when we legalize what we all call recreational marijuana. And that's going to be a huge start. But this state is not at the point where we can even discuss recreational. We're not there yet. We're not ready. We might be ready. We all might be ready. But when we talk to people even when I talk to my mother, who is as liberal as you get, she still doesn't get that. We have a lot of education to do, and we have a lot of people out there that are going to need to utilize medical marijuana, show that there's not an issue, and then we can take that step. I kind of liken medical marijuana to gay marriage. You know, it's going to take us little baby steps to get there. And I hate that because my best friend has Crohn's disease. She's on a biologic. I'm not really excited about her being on a biologic because we don't know what the long-term effects of that biologic is. And she could be on on a medical cannabis that's been tested and could control Crohn's. I mean, that's the one, I think it's almost 100% medical marijuana puts Crohn's in 100% remission. I don't know that there's any other disease, especially not, and I brought this list, and you guys are welcome to look it up. There are some people out there that are really upset that this bill doesn't go far enough, and it doesn't create, but there is a clause in here that they put that said whatever the board deems acceptable. So maybe we'll get somewhere. I don't need to talk anymore. Do y'all have questions? Are there curiosities that you want to know? Are there things that I didn't cover?
All right, we have one right over here.
Okay.
Hi, just out of curiosity, if the main point and problem that we're having right now is trying to get adoption and acceptance from North Carolina, why not include in that bill, like, research grants specifically for North Carolina universities or whatnot to study, like, THC and CBDs, delta-9s, delta-8s, as far as their effects, from a medicinal perspective as well as for recreational purposes?
It's in there. I didn't. No, it's okay. It is in there.
There you go.
First of all, cannabis is not my thing, so I'll just let you know that, even though I'm a boomer, grew up in the 60s. But I give you great credit for introducing this bill, and I love it when you start out by saying you realize it ain't going to go anywhere. But I hope that if you get re-elected, if the Libertarian candidate doesn't beat you, well, if the Libertarian candidate beats you, he or she will probably introduce the same bill, and I hope you will too. Anyway, so my question is, it's very practical, given the makeup of the legislature. You mentioned there are Democrats who are just as conservative as some Republicans. Still, they're rare cats, I understand that. But what is the main obstacle? Or I should say, who is the main obstacle to the bill? In your party and in the other party?
So I can't really name names because I don't know 100%, but I can tell you that those people that are a member of a semi-conservative and or semi-conservative religious group often are the ones that are the most opposed, because people don't, you know, Reverend Creech comes to all those, you know, all the ABC meetings because he doesn't want, we're just going to the devil. So, but that's mostly, it's a religious conviction is mostly what folks are against.
Yeah, what are some of the common things that you keep hearing in the opposition arguments? And did you tell the religious group that it's a plant and God put it here?
So one of the things I try really hard is not to argue with people and not to tell them that they are wrong, but to try to give them examples of how this could be beneficial. And that, you know, arguing with someone who feels that marijuana is from the devil is, I don't even, you know, that's not an argument that I choose to have. And that's the biggest, marijuana has such a negative connotation. Right, reefer madness, it's from, you know, it's Mexicans, it's all this, I mean, they just put it, they wrap it in this package that you're like, where'd you get it? I mean, and it came from, who was it? Was it Nixon that did the whole, changed it from cannabis to marijuana and made it, who was the one who, Yeah, it was Nixon. And he, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever seen some of the commercials that came out of that era, but they are, Lord, I wouldn't do it either. I mean, they're scary. So they spent a lot of money, and that is still out there. That belief system is still out there.
Brad's got one.
When you know better, come back with me for the religious people and say, hey, Jesus got stoned, so what you do? I'm sorry.
Yes, Brad?
Jesus didn't get stoned.
I'm Brad Hessel. I'm responsible for client services for WakeLP. And I have a two-part question. Libertarians have a problem with the concept of the drug war in general. We don't believe typically that a person's individual choice as to what to put into their body is, we believe that's up to them, not to the government to decide. And logically, then the folks that are in jail for possessing or using marijuana, that's unjust. And your aspirational bill does address that in terms of expungement. But I have a question, which is, what about compensating the people that were unjustly, lives have been affected, if not ruined? People that come out of jail are felons for life. They have trouble getting jobs. Their families are affected. Have you considered that? Is that something that you would consider yourself?
Consider
doing some kind of compensation to people that were treated that way?
You mean folks that were put in jail due to possession and due to marijuana?
Correct.
We talked about it, and we talked about including that at some point. That would not, I mean, we knew our bill was a shot in the dark, and we chose not to make it even more of a shot in the dark than it already was. So I'm not telling you that anybody is opposed to that. We've talked about it. We feel like it is an unjust kind of thing. But I don't know that, I don't know a yes or no answer to that. I think it would have to be looked at.
Well, I guess I would say that given that you're pitching this as an educational, kind of almost a propagandistic endeavor, that putting that on the table might be something that would fit in along with that objective.
Hi, I'm Dee Watson. I have a two-part question. So first of all, I'm the kind of libertarian who never smokes pot, and I've been in an ABC store once in 20 years. But I like how you likened this to the gay marriage, because taking my decisions and the way I feel about my life and the way I'm wired and putting it on somebody else is wrong. It's unethical. And that's what happened with the gay marriage prohibition. It was unethical. This is about justice and stopping the government from harming people. So I like how you did that, but I have a two-part question. One is, you said to get groups, and I don't understand the John Locke Foundation. If you read, they should be behind this but are silent, just like people were silent on the gay marriage issue for so long. Everybody knew that we should respect everyone's rights, and it wasn't happening. And the John Locke Foundation has been really silent. I'm wondering if there's some way to solicit them to not be so silent. And I've actually found that NAACP, same thing, on their website, it's there, but they're still silent because African Americans are not using drugs at higher rates. They're just being incarcerated at higher rates. So that's one issue. And then the second issue is I also like how you're going after the regulatory framework. Is there any provision that could be made in the recreational bill if it ever sees the light of day so that people who are using it for personal consumption, just like beer, you can brew beer for personal consumption without any licensure? So those are my two questions.
So I'm going to answer the last one first because that was the easy one. So we would like to add that if we ever got to that point. You know, I think 2-3 plants is fine. I don't think that should be a problem, or, you know, as long as it's personal consumption, I don't think that should be a problem at all. And I don't think anybody that was on this team that put the bill in has any problem with that. Now, the John Locke Foundation. They, so just so everybody knows, I have befriended Becky Gray, and I love Becky Gray, and she is the lobbyist, and we talk about a lot of different things, and we agree on a lot of different things. I have not talked to her about this. My guess would be that there are so many other things in the hopper that they're choosing to be silent to move other things through that are important. And unfortunately, that's what happens, is, you know, people are very silent about things because they have other things on the agenda, and they know if they start talking about that, that folks are going to stop listening to them. That would be my guess. I don't know. And I'll be more than happy to ask Becky and find out what their deal is and let Travis or Patrick know. Was that all of your questions? I don't know about, I know that Reverend Spearman, I mean, I actually would ask you to call both of those places and ask them and talk to them. I know Reverend Spearman is happy, and or his staff are happy to talk to you about those things and welcome those questions, because he and I have discussed the fact that African Americans are incarcerated at a higher rate. And so I don't think that, but I don't know, because, you know, you have to, they also span that conservative Christian kind of, or he does. Reverend Spearman does. I totally understand. I'm just saying, I'm suggesting reasons why. I'm not disagreeing at all.
Hi, I've actually been to Central Prison for marijuana. I spent about 3 years of my life incarcerated for small quantities of marijuana, including 15 months in North Carolina State Prison for 3.5 grams of marijuana. I haven't read the medical marijuana bill. I did read your bill, and I like that I would get under that bill first shot. A 6-month advantage in a billion-dollar marketplace is everything. So thank you for that, and thank you for part 2 of the bill, which would expunge my record and make me no longer a felon. My question is about, I haven't read the medical bill yet. Would there be any barrier to entry in the marijuana market for someone like me?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can get back to you.
Because lots of people have been trying to do that, and because different states like Nevada and others, if they have any kind of previous cannabis record, even if it's just for possession, they're not allowed to participate whatsoever in that market. That's why I don't live in Colorado.
Well, I'd be more than happy to research it and let somebody know. My guess is because it was written by somebody who probably is not very sensitive to that, my guess is that it's probably not in here, but I don't want to speak out of turn.
Like everybody, thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. Sorry this mic got turned up a little louder and didn't mean to startle. So real quick, my guess is with John Locke and Civitas, their donor base is not going to allow this to be a priority. That would be my guess, knowing who donates to those 2 groups. But as far as building coalitions, any outreach to veteran groups, North Carolina, as conservative as North Carolina can be in parts, one of the groups that is always loved by both parties are veterans groups. And veterans, especially things like PTSD and other medical conditions, have been pretty vocal, actually, more than you would think, about legalizing marijuana, at least medically, for their use. Any discussions with any of the veterans groups here in North Carolina?
So, yes, there has been, and the Republicans, I'm trying to think of the name of that group that I always, it's a program that helps people with PTSD and also folks that are surviving suicide, and it's the Something Fund. It's going to come to me, I'm sorry. I'm 57 years old and my brain doesn't work as well as it used to. But that bill just passed. And I've talked to the woman who runs that organization, thank you. And that's one of the things that is probably going to help this medical marijuana bill go through, is there are so many people who have advocated for the use of cannabis in treating PTSD. So we're hopeful, and I'll think of that name.
We'll look it up and figure it out, but I'm glad that that's helped, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Jewel. I'm from Truce Hemp Co., and we're part of that industry and sort of watching the cannabis life. And something that's been kind of so hard to see living here, or I'll say I grew up here. I lived in California during its medical phase, and then moving back here. And when I'm in discussion with businesses in other states that have already adult use legalized, I just feel like one of the things that we're missing the longer we take is how far behind our people are going to be, not just on the use side, but on the business side, and the whole fact that there are people that are already 10, 12 years deep in professionals talking about cannabis freely. So something this year, you know, like just normalizing, because I would like to disagree that we are trying to normalize and also destigmatize. So like what marketing can we do in the meantime to do those things to help people see that this is not scary, but for us to be such a research place, I just get really angry about how far behind we're getting from a professional side.
Well, and part of that is a federal issue. Part of that is because it's not federally recognized. I think talking to people about hemp is cannabis, but hemp has they've removed the THC from it, and showing people some of the benefits of hemp.
Yes.
And I know a lot of pharmacies are selling hemp products I mean, I went to Hayes Barton Pharmacy, little teeny pharmacy, and they're, you know, they've been around forever, and he's got hemp products. I was like, all right. So I think part of that is letting people, educating people that hemp and cannabis are the same thing, except for the hemp has removed the THC, and helping people understand that that's where it came from. But I don't know, you know, I don't have those answers, and those answers are really frustrating because I grew up in a time where, you know, everybody, just about everybody I knew used or had or something. And nobody was paying attention to us, thank God. So, yes, sir.
Howdy.
Oh, yeah.
Howdy. Sean Haw. First, I'd like to apologize for any bad reputation I've given to daily marijuana use over the years. But David's question reminded me of something. In states where they have citizen initiative, where they have passed medical marijuana or cannabis legalization initiatives, I've noticed that the largest group that comes out and votes in favor of those are seniors, people 65 and over. This is one of the reasons why it passed in Arizona, is because there's so many old people in Arizona. So similar to David's question, has there been any kind of input from or outreach to senior organizations or individuals about this issue?
One of the women, I can't remember her name. Y'all, I meet so many lobbyists, and they all wear masks now, and so I can't always remember who they are. But one of the women who is lobbying hard for this bill is a senior citizen and has something. She explained it to me when she caught me outside and was talking to me. So I know that there are senior citizens, and there are senior citizens in the House that are for this bill. The older, and it's really interesting because it's the older Republican men who are okay with it, except for one, but that's okay.
So I have a question.
Sure.
I love what you're doing. The Libertarian Party is the third largest party in North Carolina. How can we get behind this bill and support it and make it vocal that the Libertarians are on this side too, and even help it evolve into more of a better bill? Because I'm not sure Republicans are going to get behind this. I don't know that they're going to do it. They're going to try to block it. They're going to do whatever they do. I know it mainly has Democrat support right now. However, the Libertarians would like to see something like this push forward, and we would also like to be part of helping it evolve. So how can we do that as a party? Because we would like to do that.
So I think one of the suggestions is, depending on, we all have friends that are in politics. We all know somebody. I mean, you guys know me. You guys know Republicans that are in there. You know people who are any number of projects. Start talking to them about this. Now, I will tell you that this Senate bill that's moving is sponsored by a Republican. So there is a group of people that are Republicans that are willing to see this through. Now, there is something about the word marijuana that terrifies people, but cannabis is okay. So I would talk about cannabis and hemp and those things, but I would also let them understand that, yes, they're both the same thing, but this is actually going to help people live better lives. And I think that's where, you know, this is a bill about compassionate care. This is a bill talking about people who have life-threatening diseases and or are at end-of-life stages being able to be at peace and have little to no pain and not using morphine. This is another option. This is also an option, talk about the opiate crisis. This is an option to turn the opioid crisis around and help folks utilize another substance. And I think not being afraid to talk about it, and I think making sure that, you know, you're not only armed with facts, but you're armed with emotions and stories. Stories are what win people over. If I can tell a personal story, then that, you know, you guys will remember because my best friend has Crohn's disease. You may not remember my name, but you'll remember why I'm so passionate about it.
And speaking of stories, I remember a story that kind of swayed me. I don't use marijuana. I don't really have any desire to use it, but I'm sympathetic. I think it should be legalized. I think you should be able to have your freedom to do it. But it was a story about a family, and their son had terrible epilepsy and needed the marijuana for treatment, and they had to turn their entire life upside down. They had to move to Colorado. They had to find new jobs, find a new house, find all new kinds of stuff, and that had happened at a time when my nephews were that age, and I go, well, how would I feel if that was my nephew? And they had something like that happen, and they had to turn their entire life upside down because a plant is illegal. A plant. And who would not want, who in their right mind would not see something like that and go, oh my gosh, you've just made the life of a 10-year-old child better and more comfortable, and you've given their parents a sense of relief to know that they've found a treatment that works. But we're too busy legislating a damn plant.
Now, I can tell you, because Patrick and I were talking about this before, in which, you know, I know you guys are libertarians, and I know that you don't lean on one side or the other, but Representative Saul's in the House, who's a Republican. I mean, one of the things he said to me was, if I had a child with epilepsy, I'd just go buy it. So there are people out there that are really ready for this to happen, and they're ready for that change. There are other people that have had bad experiences with other drugs and blame it on marijuana, and there's no changing that person. So we just have to work with the ones that we can. And I think, you know, if you're likely to donate to somebody's campaign, you might want to ask them those questions. What are those things that you stand for? And find that if you're going to do a campaign donation that's outside of the Libertarian Party, and when they say, well, I don't want to support cannabis, oh, well, thanks, bye. You know, I mean, I think you need to tell people why you're doing something one way or another.
Well, Alice, you're exactly right, and I also don't smoke weed, but...
Wow, man, you look like you ought to.
I don't smoke weed because I get randoms at work. I mean, but the thing is, in libertarian circles, you're going to hear, no victim, no crime. If there's no victim, there is no crime. And we have so many people locked up, so many people incarcerated that have not hurt anyone. They've never taken anyone's stuff. They've never committed fraud or coercion or theft. And they're in jail because they grew a plant that the government says you're not allowed to grow that next to your tomatoes and sell it on the side of the road. So, you know, I'm for deregulating it completely. You know that, Allison? You should be able to have a field of marijuana and sell as much as you want to all the willing consumers that are out there willing to reach in their pocket and as an adult buy something. You know, that's commerce.
Will I be able to tax it then?
No. You can't tax it. You can't tax it, but the thing is, take 90% of it. So they'll actually get 100% of my donation. So, no, you'll hear no victim, no crime so much in our circles. And really, the thing I love about the bill that you put forward is that it actually de-victimizes people who are locked up for something that they should not be locked up for. And it's beautiful. It's awesome. I'm fully behind it. I fully support it. I believe everybody in this room is too. I'm telling you, we have more in common than we have differences. But we got you a gift. This is a growler and a card. You can go fill it up 3 times and put some beer. But you have to go to Lowe's. They actually have.
I know where Lowe's is.
Yeah, Lowe's Foods has their own beer and whatnot. And so just show them this card, and this right here will give you and Lou something to drink.
Can I say something before, just to end on? So, Patrick reminded me of something that I often say, which is vote. I want everybody to vote. I don't care what party you vote for. I don't care who you vote for, just vote, because that's our voice. So I encourage all of you to come on the campaign trail. I think running for office and learning more about running for office is really important. It also gets you in a different frame of mind to talk about more issues and move forward. So I expressly invite all of you to run for office. Some of the guys that are running for office, I'm excited that Patrick is going to run for 37.
Yeah, Patrick. Yeah.
I'm ready, and I don't know that a libertarian, you never know. So, but, hey, run, vote, that's right. And I believe that we should all work together. But I really am excited that there might be more candidates, because I think the more choice we have, the better informed we are.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Allison. That was so amazing. And I hope that you will fill these up. Tell Lou to fill that thing up a bunch of times. Did you guys enjoy that? Listen. No victim, no crime is a real thing. And this bill actually will, up to a certain amount, was it 1.5 ounces or 2 ounces? I mean, it should be truckloads, But yeah, I know you don't. But you gotta, it's baby steps forward, and that's really why we wanted Allison to come out, is because we're taking baby steps forward. You can't go from A to Z right away. But I will tell people online, we support this bill, we support Allison, and we support the legalization of marijuana. I support the deregulation of marijuana and all drugs, because we're not allowed to tell people how to live their lives. We're not allowed to tell people what they can consume. All we can do is be there for them. So that's all I have. Please come back, hang out. Any Wednesday, we're always here. Please come hang out with us. And just want you to know that we're on your side, and that we're advocating for you, the people, the individual. The smallest minority in the world is you, the individual. As Spike Cohen says, you are the power. Don't let anyone take it from you. Do not let anyone take the power from you, because you are the power. And you are the individual. You are the smallest minority. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you so much, Allison. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.